He's an introvert, interviewing strangers from the internet, knocking down the walls of his comfort zone, one conversation at a time. This is the Gary Cantrell Podcast.
The Gary Cantrell Podcast, May the 6th, 2020. Welcome back to another show. Thank you so much for checking the show out. I'm going to be talking to my pal, the Alan Martin, but first, let me tell you all about my friends, the Patreon podcast producers, Caitlin at Caitlin Elise, put 3 Y's in her name 3 times. It's awesome. Vanessa at Vanessa Ray's Journey, Amanda at Mutts_and_Miles, and Morgan at DDPY Mama. These folks helping to support the show via Patreon. The website is patreon.com/Gary Cantrell. And just very quickly, when you subscribe to this site, you get all the shows 5 days early. So, you know, today is Wednesday. That's when most of you guys are listening. You would get the next show on Friday. That's 2 days from now. The MP3 is a higher quality bit rate. You get your own RSS feed that you can use on your favorite podcast player. And 25% off the Hard Work Always Wins web store. Anything you want in that store, 25% off. That is a hell of a deal. Just don't tell my wife. She will kill me. And if you can't support via Patreon, the best free way to support the show is leaving a review on Apple Podcast. Leave a review, why you like the show, what it does for you, why somebody else should check it out, yada, yada, yada. You guys know all this fun stuff. And that's pretty much it. So, with that being said, now we're going to go to the Alan Martin. Before I get him on the phone here, I just want to tell you guys very quickly about the Alan Martin. 13 years I've known this guy. We started out on a pro wrestling podcast known as The Shoot. He was the guy that was there when no one else was. When everybody else was gone, Alan Martin was there. And I've known him ever since, off and on here for the last 13 years. We never actually met in person, but we've always had a bond. So he's going to come on today and talk about his weight loss journey. That's right, this guy. Wait till you hear this story. I'm excited to hear a lot of it myself. I've seen it in pictures, but now we're going to get to hear it here on the podcast. So without further ado, let's bring on my pal, the Alan Martin. There he is.
What's going on, man?
Alan Martin. Wow. What's happening, buddy?
Not a whole lot, man. Just getting in from the gym, man. What's going on with you?
Dude, I just got done with making dinner, having a shower, just getting ready, because I knew that when I saw you on my schedule today that the rest of this night was going to be pure cake, baby.
Oh yeah, man. I feel like it'll be like old times, man. Like, you know, like riding a bicycle.
Well, speaking of which, this is, I don't know if you planned it this way, because the way I do my podcast, for people that are listening that ever want to come on the podcast and share their story, like we're going to do with Alan here on this podcast, you go on the calendar and you book your own slot. And so Alan, I gave him my link and I said, go ahead, book a time, pick whatever you want, and we'll do it. And it just so happens that, I mean, this podcast comes out every Wednesday, but it just so happens that we're recording at the exact same time that we would have used to have been doing our old radio show. How crazy is that?
Wow, I didn't even think about that. That's right, man. Wow, we used to come on Thursdays at this exact time slot. Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
7 for you, 8 for me.
Yeah, wow. I didn't even plan it like that. That's hilarious, though, that you brought that up. Wow, well, I guess it was meant to be then.
There you go. And I was actually just talking with my wife about that. I was getting ready to let her know that, hey, I'm coming in my studio here and we're gonna have our conversation. And I was like, you know what? This is the time we would have done our show. So this is nuts. This is wild to me. A conversation, Alan, that is 5 years in the making.
I know, man. It doesn't even. Whenever I got the message, I was just trying to recall in my mind. I was like, man, when was the last time I had spoken with you, and I'm like, man, it had to be 2015. So yeah, long time, long time.
Definitely. Now we'll build up to that. One of the things I like to do on this show, and I know we just got reconnected, and so you probably haven't heard any of the stuff I'm doing, but on this podcast, I like to bring on somebody and I like to hear their story. Now, this is something that we really never got to do on the old radio show because it was very news driven. It was opinion based. We were talking about the world of professional wrestling and mixed martial arts. And so the idea of me saying, hey, Alan, give me your life story, it's something that we never, ever thought about doing. Now, of course, as events would pop in, we would, obviously share little tidbits, what our weekends would look like for you. There was a lot of 3-day weekends in there, and I was very, very jealous. And but that was really the extent of our life experiences. Now, our old show had a brief revival in the year 2015, and we kind of delved a little bit into some of that stuff, but I never got to just sit you down and say, Alan, give me your life story. So I'm excited to do a little bit of that tonight. Obviously, we'll have to talk about the time we got together on the radio for the first time and away we went with that. But really, one of the main reasons I also wanted to get you on here, of course, is because of your health and fitness journey, and you have made a miraculous transformation, and that is exactly in my wheelhouse. That is what we talk about here, among many things, but that's what brings a lot of people together. So, but before we get all to that, tell me about your early years. Now, you're in Houston, the Houston area. Were you born and raised in Houston?
Yes, sir. I was born kind of like well, it's not really small anymore because it's really grown up. But I was kind of raised in like a town, Tomball, Texas. It's probably about 30 minutes outside of Houston. That's where I was born and raised, man. It's kind of like a country town for the most part.
Right.
I went to high school here. It's funny because I never really got away from Tomball either because, I still work in Tomball now. So it's kind of like, I always thought that I would move off somewhere and get away from this little town, but, I still find myself here, but, I call it home and, I like it, man. It's, I don't really envision myself ever getting away from it.
Well, I think, to be fair, and I've never grown up in like a small town or lived in like a super small town. I've always been in this clusterfuck of Northern Virginia, DC area, which is kind of a wild, fast-paced area. But that's kind of one of the narratives you hear a lot from people that grow up in small towns. It's always like, you have these dreams, you have these aspirations of potentially getting out of the area and moving on to something that is perceived bigger and better. But for a lot of people, they end up staying in the town because at the true root of it, they love it and they can't get rid of it, even if they think they want to get rid of it.
That's the funniest thing, man. It's like I had moments where I was just kind of, I was in a funk and I was trying to dig my way out of the funk. There was a time period where I was kind of like in a crossroads where I went through a breakup and then I had a grandparent pass away. I had lost my job at the time. So I was at this little crossroads in my life where I was like, okay, what do I want to do here?
Right.
And I thought about moving away from here and just getting a fresh start. I honestly did. And the holidays were coming up. So I went and house sat for a friend, and when I got back from the holidays, we came into 2017 or 2007, I should say. And, things just kind of started turning around for me, man. I ended up getting a job opportunity. And, after I got the job opportunity, things just kind of started clicking. I ended up finding this show. So, or our old show.
Right.
But yeah, things really turned around for me in 2007, man, because I had hit rock bottom there for a little while. Honestly, it wasn't good.
And speaking to it, it's like, when you think about, Tomball and growing up there and that fact of never really wanting to leave, sometimes you felt like you want to leave. Now, looking back on it, what's something about the area, Tomball, that like you just can't live without?
Oh man, it has that small town feel to it, man. Honestly,
Right.
it's crazy to say this, but like a lot of Tomball, you can just leave. You can leave your door unlocked at your house, and you don't feel like you don't feel like you're scared to where you have to like lock up your deadbolt and stuff like that at your house. It's it just has that small town feeling to it where most of the people are pretty friendly here. I mean, of course you have your crime and stuff like that, but I mean for the most part it's not like a lot of crime in this town. So I don't know. I just always wanted to, I couldn't just get away, no matter how much I wanted to get away. It's like, okay, like I would, and I did move. That's the thing. So I moved out towards Houston, and I lived out in Houston for a little while, and I moved to like different areas. And even now, like I live on the outside of Tomball, so I'm kind of like in Spring area, but I mean, I work in Tomball, so I'm in Tomball every day. So, I like it though, man. I don't know what it was. It was whenever I started getting those opportunities to get where I'm at now, I was like, well, I got this job and it's a good job. I work for the government, so it was like, okay, I need to see where this goes. And now I've been at that job for 13 years, so it's kind of like, all right, well, I'm here for the long haul now, so I'm staying.
Yeah, it's very hard to leave stability. I mean, people have heard me talk a million times on this podcast, on other podcasts. I'm sure even back in 2009, 2010 or what have you on the old show, I probably talked about Charleston, South Carolina, how much I love it and how much I wish and how much I hope to move there someday. At the end of the day, though, it's like, here in Virginia, this is my home right now. And one of the main reasons this is my home is the stability, the job. It's just the stable thing. And so when you got a good gig, when you're talking like, I got a job with the government, I mean, that's pretty damn stable. It's probably not going to get much better than that unless you had followed, one of your passions of maybe being like a wrestler or something like that. But like, other than that, like, having a job like that is pretty awesome and pretty stable. So you're like, well, I'm going to ride this son of a bitch out till the wheels fall off.
Absolutely, man. And that's the insurance is really good. I mean, you mentioned my every other Friday. I still have those.
Oh yeah. Damn it.
Yeah. I wish it was tomorrow, but it's actually next Friday. But, I still have the every other Friday. You get weekends off. And now, I mean, man, I get over a month of vacation time. So it's pretty wild, man. Whenever you think about it, like last year, my human resources department they were telling me that they're like, hey, dude, like they were emailing me and telling me, they're like, hey, you have to use like over this amount of time. And I'm thinking to myself, what does one do with a full month of vacation time? Like it blew my mind because I've never had that much vacation time, so I just didn't. I'm like, every job that I've ever had in the past, it was like, hey, you might get a week off. And, this place, when I first started there, they were offering you 2 weeks. And then I stayed, you're there 5 years and then they give you another week. And then once you go over 10 years and they give you another week. So it's insane, man. I think I can accumulate up to like 6 weeks off. So think about that.
Good Lord.
What would you do? Yeah. What would you do with 6 weeks off?
Well, I want to say I have about 3 weeks a year off, and I don't even know what to do with 3 weeks. So 6 weeks, I can't imagine what you're doing with that time.
Yeah, it's unbelievable to really think about. So whenever you have all that, and then you have your insurance, because you know how I'm sure you know how hard it is to have insurance these days and how expensive it is.
Yeah.
And I have government insurance, so and it's it's really good. So my thought is why would I want to give that up and move off somewhere else whenever it's a stable job and it's they're not. You got to really screw up at that job to lose your job.
Well, and I mean, also, unless you're, like you're saying, yeah, you'd be crazy to leave, but also, the only other way that anyone would leave something so stable is if their heart's truly not in it, if you're miserable, and it doesn't sound like any of that's going on. So, yeah, stay with it and keep going with it.
Yeah, I don't think that, I think a lot of people have those days where, they get burned out or they need to take time off or they get frustrated, and that's natural. But I can't really sit here and tell you that I'm miserable because that's definitely not the case.
Yeah.
I like where I'm at now, and and I will say that I did struggle at that job the first 5 years I was there. Oh man, like it was a struggle, man. I had a boss who was always who would ride me all the time, and just I always thought, man, does this guy have it out for me? What's the deal? I would always vent to my mom and my close friends and stuff. I would tell them man, this job's crazy and stuff, but they would just tell me, just stick it out, ride it out, and I did. I decided to stick it out, and it got better, man. It honestly did. I got a different position now, so I moved. So I'm in the billing department now at my job. So and it's a lot better there. I have a different boss, and I get along with my boss. So
that's always good to have.
Yeah. That was one of the things with me, man. Whenever that opportunity came where they offered me another position in the company, I was all for it, man. Cause I wanted to get away from that department that I was in because I kind of just felt like it was dragging me down, honestly. I was in that job. Think about that. I was there in that one position there. I was there for 10 years.
Wow.
And I can tell you, I wasn't happy for most of that 10 years, but it's again, I just had that mentality of I was like, okay, I gotta stick it out and just keep riding it out, and I just try to stay positive. That's the main thing. It's always easy to be negative and stuff, but I always try to say, no matter what they threw at me or how poorly they treated me, because they treated me poor, man. I honestly did. I can honestly tell you that. In that department, they treated me bad. And this new department that I've been in now, this is my third year in that department, and they treat me great. That's one thing I can say. My birthday was just here on February 27th, and they threw me a birthday party at work.
Awesome.
Yeah, and man, in that old department, that never would have happened. So,
well, happy belated. How old are you now?
36, man. I'm getting up there.
I thought we were pretty close in age because I'll be 38 this year. I'm 37 now. So yeah, if I remember correctly, we were pretty close in age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and a lot of the stuff you're talking about there, sticking it out and staying positive, a lot of that really attributes to weight loss stuff and getting healthy, because a lot of people, they go through the process, they get frustrated, they get a lot of anxiety, they're worried about, they're harping on things like the scale and all these other things, and, sometimes, we lose focus, we lose general focus on the task at hand. And so I'd like to talk to you a little bit about this, because when I first got talking to you, and we'll go into that later, but around that time, you were still quite a big guy. Now, growing up, as you're growing up, were you a big guy when you were really young, or did that come later in your life when you were getting big?
So I've been big all my life.
Right.
Even gosh, man. I mean, as far as I can remember back, even maybe when I was even like 7 years old, even I can remember my grandma calling me like we would. My dad passed when I was 2, so my mom would take me over to see my grandma like every summer she would take me over and we would do like the Christmas shopping with my grandma because I didn't have my dad.
Right.
And I always remember she would get the J.C. Penney's book out, and this was like old school. This was before Amazon and all that shit.
Oh yeah, I remember those big books. They were like 500 pages. I want to say it was pretty insane.
Yeah, man. It was. So she would, so she would break out the big J.C. Penney's book, and she would like flip through the catalog and everything, and she'd be like, "Oh, okay." She's like, "We got to order you." I always remember her saying it. She's like, "I got to order you husky clothes because you're, husky." Instead of like, I guess instead of calling me fat, she just called me husky.
Right.
Like that always sticks in my head. Whenever I was younger, she'd call me husky. But yeah, man, I grew up a big guy.
What do you attribute that to? I mean, was it just? I mean, obviously the food is a factor, but is it more of you're having too much, or you're just eating too much of the wrong stuff, or like what is it that is getting you to this point?
Oh man, I think growing up, probably. See, I would probably say just a lot of factors like not eating breakfast. Like when I was younger, I never ate breakfast at all. Like actually, man, to tell you the truth, I didn't start eating breakfast until probably my mid-20s, man.
Oh wow.
I would not eat breakfast, and if I did eat breakfast, I would get up and I would eat Popeyes or like leftover Popeyes or leftover Pizza Hut. I grew up poor, so every Friday would be like a treat. My mom would get she'd get Popeyes or I don't know if they have like a Hart's Chicken out in your area, but they would stop and get like Hart's Chicken or just whatever kind of like cheap fast food and we would have that, and then like the leftovers on Saturday morning, I would get up and eat that for breakfast. But that would be the only time I would eat breakfast is like Saturday morning. But other than that, man, I never ate breakfast. At lunchtime at school, I would probably eat like maybe I would have like 2 slices of pizza at lunch or something. Dinner time, I would I would eat. One thing I really remember about that time frame is I would always eat a lot of cornbread, a lot of beans, rice, fried chicken, fried pork chops, and I would always eat bread with everything too.
Got it. I mean, it's better. It's better with bread, right? That's what the old us is thinking. It's better with bread.
Yeah, for sure, man. Hell, I mean, even now, like I went to a barbecue last weekend, and my brother was even like, he goes, "Oh, well, we gotta have bread, with the with the food." And I didn't have any bread, but everyone else, they had bread and potato salad and all that stuff. While me, I just had the meat.
Yeah.
Because things change now, but yeah, I mean that's how I grew up, man. I just grew up eating like that, and I didn't really eat like cake and ice cream and stuff like that, which is funny now because I crave that stuff. I crave that stuff now. I crave like cake and ice cream and stuff like that. But when I was younger, my mom always told me, she goes, "Yeah, she's like, you weren't really a big heavy sweets eater. You just ate a lot of the junk stuff, like like pizzas and chili dogs and stuff like that."
And I mean, just thinking as you're growing up here, I would imagine that when you got probably your first job, was food, probably increasing a little bit more because now you have a little more freedom. You can kind of buy what you want when it comes to food.
Yeah. One thing that I can really say about that is let's go back to college even. So
okay.
Whenever I was in college, I can recall me I would go to CC's buffet.
Oh, yes.
Yes, yes. I would go there, man. I mean, I would eat at CC's buffet at least 3 times a week, at least, man.
It's so cheap.
It's cheap, exactly. It was cheap. So, and think about it, I'm a college student, so it's something cheap. I don't have a bunch of money.
It was economical.
Yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't far from the college. It was, it's like 10 minutes away from the college. So you go, or you go. I would eat that. I would eat like a Chinese. I would have a Chinese buffet once a week. So you see 2-3 times a week. So
right.
I mean, it's easy to pack on the pounds whenever you're eating buffets.
Dude, that was my whole life from like 2009 on. I had met my now wife, and we were going out and eating every weekend. So I can identify. CC's, though, was on the top of that list a lot of times because I haven't been there in forever. I know now it's like either $5 or $6, but at the time I started going, it was like $3.99 or something like that. It was crazy.
Yeah, man. It was like, I think plus tax, it was like $4.32 or something like that plus tax.
Oh,
so it was cheap. Like you go there, you get your, and get your drink or water or whatever, and you just keep loading that plate up, man. Yeah,
I loved having like a custom pizza made because it was always fresh and it always had the stuff I wanted on it, and they'd bring me a whole damn pie out, and I just destroy that thing in minutes.
Yes. that reminds me, when you brought that up, that I would always get the barbecue pizza.
Oh,
that was my go-to. I would always, if they didn't have it, I'd ask them to make it fresh. Oh yeah, that was.
Well, and you're a Texas boy too, so barbecue is probably very prevalent in your life.
Oh gosh, yeah. I love, yeah. I actually had barbecue chicken before we went on the air here. So
there you go. Well, at least it wasn't on the show. There's an old callback for anybody listening now. But that's the thing too. It's like CC's, it was easily accessible. It was cheap. In your situation in college, it's economical. Would you call CC's your greatest like guilty pleasure, or did you have something else that was like very constant that was eaten multiple times a week?
I would probably say, if it wasn't like CC's, then I would probably say probably like Popeyes. I ate Popeyes quite a bit growing
Popeyes
up.
is wonderful.
Yeah. My mom would always that was definitely like one of our staples growing up was Popeyes chicken. It was Popeyes chicken or pizza. Basically, those were like the two big things.
Right.
So yeah, that was it, man. That was the go-tos.
Well, here's a sidebar. In Texas, do you guys have Zaxby's there or no?
We do, actually. There's a Zaxby's there's actually about 5 minutes from me.
Okay, so you're talking about, you've had a lot of chicken, the Popeyes, you love Popeyes. Obviously, everybody's got Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A for me was like my number one seed for the longest time, and then we just got a Zaxby's here in Virginia. And I got to tell you, every single time I went in there when I would drive south, and now every single time that I've been in there since they've opened, consistently, in my opinion, they've had the best chicken, bang for the buck. It was some of the best, juiciest chicken I've ever had. Where are you at with the Zaxby's? Is Popeyes, whenever you do make a decision to have chicken, is Popeyes still that number one seed, or is there somebody else that's up there at the top?
Man, that's whew. Wow.
It's a tough call, I know.
Yeah. Like Chick-fil-A is I know this isn't going to be popular. I'm going to catch hell for this, but I kind of think Chick-fil-A is a little overrated.
All right. Alan Hot Take Martin right here. Now,
yeah,
people that used to listen to us, they would know you would always take the hot take, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm definitely, when it comes to catching heat, I'm definitely I definitely like to catch heat apparently. But yeah,
Nick Hogan still sucks, right?
Exactly.
Another callback. There it is. Ding.
Yeah, no, I do like Chick-fil-A. I do like the chicken wrap. The chicken wrap is really good. The spicy chicken sandwich is good. But I do think that. Well, let me say this: the customer service is awesome. I will say that.
Right.
Like they have excellent customer service, but the food though, I just think it's okay.
All right, but where does the Zaxby's rank though? That's what I really want to get to the bottom of. I want to hear it from somebody that's not me because I'm very biased, obviously.
Man, honestly, like I do think that Zaxby's is better than Chick-fil-A. I will say that. But
all right, there we go.
I love Popeyes though, man. I do. I'm a fan of Popeyes. But then there's a place here. I don't know if you have them there, but it's a place called Hart's Chicken that's here. I like them too.
No, we don't have them.
Yeah, no. Okay? So if you get a Hart's Chicken in your area, or if you ever venture here to Texas, you got to go to a Hart's Chicken because it's good. I like it.
Do you know if they have them in Dallas by chance?
Ooh, I don't know. Actually, that's a good question.
I was there 4 years ago for the WrestleMania in Dallas, and I didn't see it. I was always looking on. That was back before I started losing weight, and I was always on the hunt for, whenever I travel, I'm always on the hunt for new places I'd never been. And obviously in Texas, you guys have Whataburger, and so I ate a lot of that. Yeah, ate a lot of that while I was there.
Yeah, that
trouble.
That's definitely Whataburger is probably now. When I do want to have what I call them cheat meal, Whataburger is definitely in that high pecking order.
Yes, the Chipotle ketchup is love. I love it.
Yeah, it is good. Yeah, Whataburger is definitely one of my go-tos for sure. But
tell me this: when you got to your highest weight, what was that number?
So my biggest weight was I got all the way up to 364 pounds.
Okay,
and I want to say it was around 20 or 2006. I want to say 2006, 2007 areas, or whenever the time I was about my biggest.
Okay, and so tell me, what is that at life at that number, like your average day? I have a point of where I'm going with this, because I know, like, for me, when I was at my highest, which was just over 400, I know that when I woke up, I was always in pain, shortness of breath, all these different things. So tell me, at life at 364, what a day in the life of Alan Martin was like. What kind of issues did you deal with at that size?
A lot of just a lot of knee pain, ankle issues, which I've grown up with that.
Right.
It's plagued me my whole life, basically. So I've had 2 dislocated hips. I had dislocated hip whenever I was 15, and then I dislocated my other hip when I was 17. And it all goes back to playing sports, and goes back to being overweight.
What did you play? What kind of sports did you play?
Oh gosh, everything, man. Yeah, literally everything.
In high school? Was this high school?
Yeah, and then I would do like summer leagues and stuff like that as well. Kind of like the summer league basketball and stuff like that.
How did you do? Did people look at you like, man, that Alan, he knows his shit, like he knows how to play? Were you like a really good player?
I thought I was pretty decent in basketball.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say like I was like the best player or nothing like that, but I thought from my size, because I was kind of like bigger and taller than a lot of the the kids and stuff like that. So I thought that I was.
Well, that's right. You are pretty tall, aren't you? 6 foot something?
Yeah. I'm 6'3". So.
Okay, so you probably carry So when people think 364 pounds, like I'm 5'9", and 364 pounds is going to look a lot different on me than it is you. So I would imagine that you probably carried your weight pretty good.
I don't know. That's a question that would be a question for someone else to have to answer, because I'm really critical.
True.
I'm really critical on myself in general. So I would, that would be something, someone else would have to answer that. But
right.
For me personally, I didn't feel like I carried it well. But for other people, Now, see, there's some people who see my old photos and they tell me, oh, well, they think that they thought I was handsome back then too. So,
Well, there was a reason that people loved you a lot more than they loved me when we used to get emails from people on the old show. For the record, you were a superstar. you know, though, one of the things, so I think a lot of people, when they get to be pretty big, you have a breaking point, a moment where you decide, all right, enough's enough. I got to get something going with this. Now, did you make that decision around the time we were talking, or did this come after that? Or like, at what point do you decide, what is that? Number one, when was that moment? Number two, what was that moment? Like, what did it for you that made you decide I need to go the other way with this?
I think I kind of stewed on that decision for a few years, to be quite honest with you.
Sounds about
my
normal.
mom, yeah, and my mom would always. I mean, my mom is she's probably my biggest fan, but she's also my biggest critic too. I mean, my mom is, she was hard on me,
Yeah.
I was, I was the youngest of three kids, but at the same time, though, I mean, she would always stay on me about my weight all the time. I mean, that was her thing. She would always get on me. She's like, "Oh, you need to lose weight. You need to lose weight. You need to lose weight."
Yeah.
And after I had my second surgery, I can recall back to my doctor telling me that he's like, "Hey, dude," he's like, "if you don't lose weight and get it together," he's like, "you might be in a wheelchair by the time you're 30 years old."
Wow.
I remember him telling me that, because after that second surgery, he told me, he's like, "Hey."
What was the surgery? I'm sorry. What was the surgery for?
So I dislocated both of my hips, and they had to put pins in both of my hips to reconnect them.
I see.
And they told me that if I kept carrying so much weight, that it was a possibility that, hey man, you might get to 30 years old and you can't walk anymore because these pins just can't support it anymore.
Right.
And so I had all that kind of stuff weighing in my head, and I would have times where I would just get up in the morning and look in the mirror, and I just wasn't happy with the person that I was looking that was looking back at me. But I think the tipping point, I feel like, though, was diabetes runs on my dad's side of the family. Heart attack runs on my mom's side of the family. And
Right.
I remember my grandpa having a heart attack, and I remember he almost died, and I remember the doctor telling him that if he didn't quit smoking and if he didn't quit drinking, he was going to die. And I remember that day the doctor told him that, he quit smoking and he quit drinking, and he lived for, he stayed for almost another 8-9 years. He stayed.
Wow.
So yeah, so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, if he can have that discipline to where he can do that, then I'm like, man, why can't I not do something to change and try to get healthy or do something? And that was my thought at the time, but I didn't know how to get there at that time. But I was like, I need to do something.
Well, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think a lot of us, guys and girls, there comes a time where when we're so big, when we're heavy in the weight, there tends to be this thought like, well, it's not that bad. I can just keep on living my life and doing my thing. And we tell ourselves that for long periods of time before we make that decision. Is that kind of the same, that speaks to you up until this point? Like where you thought, well, it's not too bad.
Well, sure. And, and that was kind of and so I started going to the gym, and yeah, I had that kind of thought where I was like, okay, well, I'll start working out, but then I can still keep eating like shit, like I am. And,
Yeah.
and it'll be okay. And I did that for a while. And oddly enough, I did lose weight, but I wasn't losing enough, like where I felt like, okay, where, I would notice a difference or anything. Because I remember I got down to I got down to three when I started working out. I remember getting down to 355, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I lost some weight. All right, not bad. But I still kept, I would still keep eating Popeyes or whatever, keep eating Whataburger, all the junk stuff. I would keep eating that, but then
Right.
I'm like, man, I'm not getting where I want to be. And I remember there was a guy that I went to high school with, and he was a trainer. And I remember talking to him, and I was like, man, what am I doing wrong? And he was like, well, how are you eating? And he was just asking me about my lifestyle, and I was telling him, and he goes, no. He's like, you need to start eating breakfast, and then you need to have a snack. He's like, you need to eat lunch, then you have another snack, then do dinner. He was like, start with that, and then he was like, come in, do cardio, exercise, and I'm like, okay. So that was, that light bulb kind of went off, at that point. I'm like, okay, I was like, this guy he's in good shape. And, I went to high school with him. So I'm thinking, okay, I feel like he was pointing me in that right direction.
Right. He was leading you down the right path. And when you're starting all this, how hard is that transition for you? Because I feel like a lot of us, we get excited to begin, but there's still this transition where you've kind of got to tell yourself, okay, maybe you, because it's like muscle memory or habit, like you want to go have this, meal, or you want to just lay around. It's like a habit. And so the transition from those bad habits to, trying to develop the new habits, what does that transitional period look like for you? Were you able to just go bang, bang, bang right in? Or were you having, were you struggling to motivate yourself to get up and go to the gym, things like that?
The funny thing is, like, I never had any issues like going to the gym. Like, I enjoyed that part. Oddly enough, I know a lot of people say that they hate going, or they're too tired to go after work or whatever. But that was. The funny thing is like I enjoyed going to the gym more than I enjoyed going to work. Like I'm not gonna lie to you about that. Like I would look forward, because I would change clothes into my gym clothes. Because I specifically remember some of like the guys at work making fun of me for changing clothes to go to the gym after we were working outside all day long, and they were like, "Oh, you don't need to go to the gym. We work outdoors all day." And I was like, "No, I do need the gym." And so I specifically remember that in my, like people making fun of me about that. And then over time, people kind of were like, oh shit, like this gym's working for this guy. He's starting to lose weight. And then people quit making fun of me because they noticed that I was actually making a difference. But at the time, people, people were making fun of me about it. And, I think I kind of felt like I was kind of used to that. So I didn't, and I just, again, back to what I was saying earlier, I try to stay positive, and I just try not to let, that outside noise, affect me. So,
yeah. And, a lot of it too, cause there's two things you said in there that I think are really very interesting. The number one is people kind of, being judgmental or making fun of. That can be a difficult thing to get past for a lot of people. You want to stay positive, you want to keep going, but sometimes that will have an effect on people. The other thing you mentioned was, people feel like maybe they're too tired to go after work or what have you. I can tell you from experience, from my own experience, I spent so much time trying to figure out the right time to go. I was, when I first started, I was going right after work, but I was going to one where I had to drive a little bit of ways to get there. And so by the time I got there, I was like, oh boy, this is just kind of exhausting. Like, I work an hour away from my house. And so I was driving 1 hour plus, and in this area's traffic can be really bad. So usually it was over an hour and a half. And by the time I got to the gym, there was times where I would sit there because, of course, I wanted to fuck around on my phone for a half an hour, and I'd at times fall asleep in the parking lot. And then finally, I changed. I made a dramatic change to my schedule, and I started getting up at 2:45 every morning, driving out to my job's area and going to a gym out there. And then that really fucked me up. And then now finally they have a gym that's like 5 minutes from my job. I go there directly after work, and, I get my shower after, and then I put on comfortable clothes, and then I make the drive home. And that seems to work the best for me. So what I'm really trying to say is, find the time that works best for you. Don't necessarily force yourself into one time or the next. Experiment if you can, if your schedule permits. Experiment until you find the right time.
Yes, and you hit it on the head there. That's, I feel like the best time of the day to go work out is in the morning, because
right.
You're gonna burn your most calories whenever you're first waking up in the morning. So yesterday morning, in fact, I went. I had some plans or whatever in the evening time, so I just got up early and I went in the morning time. But yeah, I alternate on that. Like, I'll have, like, if I can't sleep at night or something, or if I happen to wake up early, I'll go before work. But there's a lot of times where, for the most part, I'll go after work. But there's the occasional I'll get up early in the morning and I'll go. And yeah, there's a lot of people who tell me that they're like, hey, they reach out and ask me about working out and stuff, but they're like, hey, but I can only go in the morning time. And then I tell them, I'm like, okay, well, I was like, if you want to come work out in the morning, I'll get up and let's go. So, and I'm not married. I don't have any kids or anything. So I can be a little flexible when it comes to that stuff. I can get up and go early to the gym. That's definitely not an issue at all. But,
right.
Yeah, you hit on the head though. It just depends on your schedule. And when it comes, my gym. I mean, my job is 5 minutes away from my gym, so I can go in the evening time or the morning, because either way,
perfect.
It works out. Yeah, and it works out.
You're a Planet Fitness guy, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, I love the Planet Fitness. So
yeah,
convenient.
it is. It's convenient. I like that it's 24 hours. I've had like human resources, because I have to turn in my gym check-in, because my job pays for they pay for half my membership.
Same here.
So, that's awesome, right?
You got to love the wellness. It's they call it the wellness policy or something. It's kind of funny because I know we're wrestling fans, but they call it like the wellness policy. Yes. It's awesome.
Yes, the wellness policy. Yeah, that is funny. Yeah, that's what they call it. Yeah, it's nice, man. And I remember one time I went at 1:00 in the morning to work out, and I remember they were like, looking at the check-ins, and they're like, you went at 1:00. They were like, oh, this is a mistake. Like, it says 1 a.m. on here. I was like, no. I was like, no, that's correct. I was like, yeah, I couldn't sleep, so I went to work out. And I do that, and people think I'm crazy, but my thing is if I can't sleep, then I'll go and do cardio, because I feel like because I know once I do cardio, it'll relax me, and then I'll be able to come home and then go to sleep. And then also people have like certain ways that they like to, they have like, maybe they have like quiet time, or they go home, or they meditate, or, what have you. Me, I do my best thinking while I'm doing cardio. I can turn on a podcast, or I can, listen to music, and I can just do my cardio, and I can just have my time where I'm just, if something's going on, I can just have time to think about it.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Cardio is a good place to do that. Now, I know you said your work and your gym are pretty close, but how far is your house in relation to all this? Do you have a long commute every day?
I don't. My commute is usually about 12 to 15 minutes, so it's not bad at all.
Man,
I know.
First,
I got
first you're going to hit me with the 3-day weekends. Now you're going to hit me with the 12 to 15-minute commute. God damn it, I hate
know. Yeah. I mean, there's times where I don't leave my house until 6:30, and I still make it before 7 o'clock to get. I'll be in my office, and I'm still good. So,
man, that is insane. You really got it made. Like, a lot of people would probably think, like, this guy has got it made.
I get that. People say that a lot. But at the same time, though, I don't think a lot of people understand, like, how far I've come. Like, you know, how hard I had to work to get here, because it was definitely a struggle. Nothing was given to me. That's because I always hear people always tell me, oh, you're lucky.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the case. Like, I don't really feel that way. Like, I honestly believe that everything that I have, I've earned in my life. Like, I never, no one helps me out with my bills. I did this, the losing the weight. I did that. The job that I got, I got help to get that job, but at the same time, though, it's all on me as far as trying to, keep it. So.
Yeah, I think, the having the rough life coming up, going through the weight loss journey, all this stuff, it really helps put it in perspective. And I'm sure that going through everything that you've been through in the last year, decade or plus, has probably helped put it in perspective and make you appreciate not only what you have, but just living life a lot more now that you've gone through all this stuff.
Man, I should just like dial up my mom right now, let her get on the line and tell you, like, she can just answer that for me. Like,
yeah.
My mom always tells me that, she always tells me, like, how good of a life that I have. 'Cause my mom's never, she's never been like on a real vacation. I've been on cruises. I've been on 2 cruises. I've gone to New Orleans. I bought a new car in December of 2019. That was like my first brand new car. Like, all the miles on that car is from me. And so,
what did you get?
I got a Kia Soul.
Nice.
I love it. Yeah, I love it.
You can run those Kias into the ground, man. They love it. I mean, they keep on, they take a licking and keep on sticking. I mean, they keep going. Yeah,
and that was kind of my thought process. I wanted to get something that was reliable, man, because I was in a Ford for a long time, and I just kept having to do repairs on it and everything. And I kind of got to the point to where I was just getting sick of it. So I wanted to get something that was a little more reliable, but still decent on gas. And
something for that long commute of yours.
Well, so there are some. So I'll bring this up. So I have season tickets for the Astros. So I do a lot of it. So that's like a 35-minute drive there. And,
well, that's interesting. You bring that up. The Astros. I remember that team very fondly a couple of months ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, y'all. Yeah, your Nationals beat us. Right.
Damn, I'm so glad I got to just stick that one to you there.
You know what, though? That's okay, though. I'm proud of my team. I know the whole scandal situation, but still, you know what? They've been really good the last few years, and world champions in 2017, and we got back to the World Series in 2019, and that's another thing. I was able to go to my first World Series game. I went to Game 6 here in Houston.
Nice. And the thing too is, like, had my team lost, I was actually going to be okay with that, because no one expected us to make it to the World Series. No one expected us to make it to the NLCS, the NLDS. by May, every major publication and media outlet had us written off and left for dead because we were terrible. And the comeback story was miraculous, but I definitely, when I thought of the Houston Astros, anytime I think of Houston, your name is the very first name that comes to mind. So when I thought of them, I immediately thought, like, oh, Alan Martin. I wonder what he thinks about this series.
I'm happy for Washington, honestly, man. They got a good team over there. I'm really happy for them. And there was a kid that y'all had there who, I guess he's not on the team anymore, but the third baseman there, y'all's I guess Anthony Rendon, the third
Rendon,
baseman. Yeah, the third baseman. He went to college here. So
no kidding.
Yeah, he went to Rice. So my thing is hey, you know what? I'm happy for that kid. He was able to, get himself a championship. He was, he went to school here, so I was happy for him. But
yeah,
I don't have any hard feelings on that. It was a damn good series. I enjoyed it. Of course, I wish we would have won it, but
sure.
Y'all's team earned it, and we'll see what happens with this year if we have a season, because I don't know if it's going to happen or not with all the situations going on.
I know
with that. Yeah.
Well, in this podcast, so to peel back the curtain for people that are listening, once in a while I do this. I work so far ahead. This podcast actually won't be out until May, so it'll be interesting for people that are listening as we're bringing up, wondering about will there be a season and all that. When this actually comes out, we'll find out if there's a season by May or not. So that should be pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's wow. Okay. Well, we'll see. I mean, I think we will. I think we'll get the season going underway here, hopefully within the next 2 weeks. I hope, but we'll see what happens. They said they're gonna suspend the first couple of weeks or whatever. So we'll see what happens. I just hope that everyone is safe and taking care of their business and just cleaning up after yourself. That's the main thing.
Wash these hands. That's what Braun Strowman said on Twitter.
That's right, man. Absolutely.
Before I get too far away from it, though, so the to put a bow on the weight loss thing, about how many years from the time you got started until you really started to see the results or get to a weight that you felt like, okay, I'm in a good spot now? How long is that process for you?
So at the end of 2011, I was like, okay. I got down to where I was like about 300 pounds. I'm like, wow, okay, all right. And when we rolled over in 2012, like in 2012, it was just, I think that was the year where I probably lost the most weight. I want to say it was just, I felt like it was just falling off, man.
Right.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I lost about 50 pounds that year. It was crazy. It was dumb.
And what did your process look like in terms of your weight loss, or not your weight loss, your working out, and then also your food plan? Were you following a specific diet, or were you kind of doing a custom thing? Like, talk about kind of your workouts and your food, your nutrition.
So the food has really evolved over the years. So I moved into an apartment on my own. I think around that 2010 area there.
Yeah.
And so I started cooking for myself in like 2011, 2012 is when I started. I would just I would get the chicken breast. I would do like the oatmeal, the eggs. I would do bacon. I'm trying to think what else. Fish. I would do a lot of fish. And so I was kind of like, okay, I was like, all right, this is okay. And then I got to where I would like go and start getting like the HEB meals. and that's like the ones where you can just like that. Like there's, well, you probably don't have HEB, but I'll explain that. So there's a store here. There's a store here that's in Texas, HEB, and you can go to like their deli section, and they have like pretty much food where you can just like literally just stick it in the oven and cook it up, and it's decently healthy stuff. They usually have like salmon and like vegetables and like potatoes, or they would have like chicken and like broccoli and something like carrot or something like that. And you just literally, it tells you how long to cook it for and what temperature to put it on. It even comes in an oven. It comes in like a pan already ready for the oven. So you literally just unwrap it, push it in the oven, and cook it, and pull it out, and it's ready to eat. So, yeah. So I started eating those for a while, and now I order meal prep.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I started ordering meal prep in 2017. So from 2012 to 2016. It was all me doing the cooking. Like I would start on, like, literally I would go in the kitchen on Sundays and I would just cook my meals for the week. And which was a huge change, man, because like I used to go out for lunch every day when I first started at my job. So from 2007 and from 2007 to 2011, I mean, I would go out and, I'd be going to eat, pizza buffets and Chinese buffet, and and if I did go to like Subway, I would get like the meatball sandwich.
Of course.
Yeah. So it was a big change, but yeah. So I did all the cooking, and I would get people would send me recipes and stuff like that too. I would do I used to make chili a lot. I could do like a turkey chili.
Yeah.
Like a black bean turkey chili. I would do that in the crock pot. I would make like turkey meatballs. Like I was just experimenting with all kinds of food, man. People would send me like soup recipes.
You became like a chef.
Kinda, man. It was crazy. I found, so in 2015, I found Advocare, which, I guess it's sort of popular. I think there's a few NFL players who take like Advocare products and stuff like that.
Right.
I know like Drew Brees and Patrick Mahomes and guys like that take Advocare products. But I found that in 2015 because I hit a wall when I lost 100 pounds. I hit this wall and I was like, man, like I needed something else to help me get, because I wanted to lose more. And I started taking Advocare in 2015, and I actually still take it to this day now. And I can honestly tell you, man, it's helped me a lot. Like I lost 40 more pounds whenever I was taking that.
And what is this? Is this like a supplement or something?
Yeah, so it's it's a lot of different things, honestly. Like so they have like their own line of like products. They have like energy you can take, and the energy has like vitamins in the energy. It has a little bit of caffeine in it, but it has like 21 vitamins in it. They have all kind of stuff, man. I mean, just protein. They have like bars you can eat on. Like if you need a snack or something, they have like protein bars. They have like pills to help you. They have pills to help you go to sleep at night. They have protein to help you like gain muscle. And in 2017, that's when I started trying to put on muscle, because I lost all this weight. And when I got to 2016, I'm like, man, like, I was like, okay, I lost all this weight because I was doing cardio, man. Like I would literally just do cardio all the time.
Oh yeah. I know about that all too well.
Yeah. But my friend, to go back to earlier, the guy who helped me out with my meal plan, he reached out to me. I was like, dude, he was like, you're doing all this cardio. He was like, man, you need to start lifting weights now, man. He's like, you've lost all this weight. And you're really hitting the weights hard. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, all right, let's do this. So I started ordering meal prep. There's a chef locally here in Spring here, so I started ordering meal prep from him, and I started lifting weights, man. And yeah, it's definitely like I look a lot different from like if I look at like pictures back from like 2000, 2015, 2016, and I look now, it's like okay, I'm like wow, like I'm a lot, I've definitely put on some muscle mass. So, and a lot of that I have to contribute that to taking Avocare's products, man. It's really helped me as far as like putting on muscle and stuff. So.
Now, this guide, was he showing you how to use the weights?
He didn't.
How did you learn about how to use them?
So there was a group of friends that I used to work out with, kind of like in that 2015 time frame, and I was I would go in and like kind of work out with them. It was like a group of like 6 of us. It was a couple girls and a couple guys, and
right.
I would kind of join them sometimes, and I would lift weights and stuff, and I would just kind of picked up, I would like, pretty much just like, they were like bodybuilder type guys, man. They were built. So I would just sit there, I would just pick their brain, man. I'd pick their brain and ask them questions, and I would watch watch their form, and just kind of ask them anything I could think of, like tips on. I'm like, okay, how do you do this? Or, what do you do for this body part? I would just pick their brain, man. And then, I just learned from them. And then I just after that, I just kind of started doing it on my own.
Yeah, that's probably my biggest challenge right now, because I don't really have anybody locally, like friends that I go and work out with. So I don't really have anybody's brain to pick on it, because I'm one of those guys, self-admittedly, I'm very much a cardio guy. Now, there are certain things that I don't do just because I still have some knee problems. I have one of my wrists is not functioning perfectly. So I do have some hesitation when it comes to doing any kind of like heavy lifting on these body parts. But other than that, the weights have always been something that's been interesting to me, but I think I look at it as a big challenge, because I don't know what I'm doing. And then every time I go into the damn gym, that area is the most crowded area of the entire gym. And so it's like, okay, I don't want to go over there and not know what I'm doing and hold somebody else up. I always have this fear, like, I'm going over there and I'm holding somebody else up from getting on a machine. So I just stay away from that area. It's kind of like a block I have.
I understand that.
Yeah,
I would suggest, I don't know how it is at the Planet Fitness at your gym, but the one at mine, they have a personal trainer.
Okay.
And they do, the personal trainer is like, it's free to do the classes. And I would recommend, doing his class, because like the personal trainer, they like, I've watched them like with their class and stuff, and they like they'll teach you like how to how to use like the weights and stuff like that, and teach you like different techniques, and and they work different body parts every day too. So that's something that I would definitely recommend. I think it would, I definitely think that would be helpful.
Okay, very cool. And so you talk about starting at 364. I'm sure everybody, their next question that they're thinking, well, what does Alan weigh now? Where are you at now?
So I kind of bounce around a little bit. I was 224 a couple of days ago, but
wow.
Yeah. The smallest I've been was, so in 2017 I got down to probably my smallest, where I was like 217 was about my smallest that I've been. And my family would tell me, they're like, "Oh, you're getting too little." Even there were some people at my work even who told me that I was too small. And
right.
A guy, it's just kind of funny that we're doing this today, because I had a guy at work. He showed me a picture from 2016. It was December of 2016. He showed me a picture of me, and I looked at it, and I looked pretty like, he even told me I looked anorexic in the picture, and I agreed with him. Like, I looked at it, I was like, oh man, wow, I do look really skinny there. And like, I don't look like that now. Like I've definitely filled in since 2016. So, and I think I look healthier now, and
Right.
you know,
Did you
but I'm I'm a little heavier now, but I feel like that I'm healthy too.
did you have to deal with any kind of like loose skin? I mean, when you lose a lot of the weight, that seems to
Oh
be a
my
problem that
God.
everybody deals with.
Oh my God. That's something that I deal with every day, man. I have loose skin. It's weird. So my legs, like people tease me about my legs because they say I have like chicken legs or whatever.
Right.
And it's funny because I do work out my legs, but they just like my thighs and stuff. Like you can see like the muscle, you can see like the mass and stuff. But like when it comes to like my calves and stuff, they're just yeah, they do look like chicken legs. I can't deny that. But I do work them out. But
Right.
yeah, I do have a little bit. I do have skin, like hanging skin, like on my my rib cage and like my chest and stuff like that. I do have like skin, and I've pondered on trying to get it removed and stuff like that, but I still haven't made any kind of decision on that yet. But yeah, I mean I do, and it is something that I think about. It mainly just bothers me because of like shirts.
Yeah.
Um, I have I have a bunch of shirts, and sometimes I can put on a large shirt and it fits fine. And other times I can put on an XL shirt and it fits me funny. And then other times I put the XL shirt on and it fits like a glove. And then there's times where I have to put on a 2X. So it's just that part is a little frustrating when it comes to the shirt with the skin is the only thing when it comes to that. But yeah, I can definitely relate to anyone who has the hanging skin after losing so much weight.
Yeah, there's, I mean, obviously the one guy that comes to mind for a lot of people, I don't know if you've ever seen this guy, Obese to Beast. He lost like, I think 200 plus pounds. He has a lot of loose skin. And I would imagine that it's gotta be like something that, obviously you're very, very self-conscious of. I know you're talking to something that I don't know I've ever talked to any guy about on this podcast, but you're a single man. I would imagine that having the loose skin has made you very self-conscious at times being around females or stuff like that. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that would be fair to say, but at the same time, though, my thought on that is if they want to be, I feel like if they want to be with me, then I'm pretty upfront about my life. That's one thing I will say. Like whenever I am dating someone or in a relationship or whatever, I mean, I tell them like, hey, look, I've lost a lot of weight, and I tell them, I'm like, hey, I got some hanging skin, and so I tell them about, I let them know that. So, and if they decide they don't want to stick around or whatever, if they want a guy who has like a perfect 6-pack beach body, then, they can go be with that guy, I don't need them anyways. It's kind of my thought.
No, it's very true. I mean, but the point is you've never had that problem. Nobody's ever flat out told you like, oh, I'm not going to date you because of your loose skin. You never had that problem.
No, not at all, actually. No, I've never had that problem. There was kind of weird, but well, whatever. We'll talk about it. I don't give a shit. I dated a girl last when was it? Last fall. I want to say it was during the postseason. Actually, it was so it was around like September time. I was dating a girl, and she, like, she was in my bed or whatever, and she like took my shirt off because she said she wanted, said she wanted to see my body, so she took my shirt off, and like at first I was like, like I felt a little uncomfortable, but then I was just like, you know what, screw it, it's my body, and I just you just embrace it and just
you worked hard for that body.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm proud of what I've done, and I really truly hope that my story can help people out there who are like on the fence, or people who are struggling in their life, or anyone who's like kind of like has that, because like I get a lot of people who tell me they have hesitation about going to the gym because they're nervous because they think people are going to make fun of them because they're overweight and stuff like that.
Right.
And like, I'm here to tell people, like, you know I know firsthand how that feels. Like, I was I was almost 370 pounds when I first started out, and I went, and you just my thought is it doesn't matter what size you are. If you're in the gym, to me, in my head, like, you're in there and you're putting in the time. So
Yes.
if you keep, and to me, that earns my respect right there. If you're coming in, I don't care what size you are. I don't care if they're 100 pounds, 200 pounds, 600 pounds. Doesn't matter to me. Like, if you're coming in there and you're working out, you're putting in the time. So, and I can respect that. And just keep coming, and keep grinding, and don't let anybody tell you that you can't lose the weight, and don't listen to all that negative stuff, because I have had a lot of that too, man. Like, I would post like I would post, because I would have people who would ask me about posting like my progress stuff, like, and for me personally, I always feel like, man, no one cares. That's
Yeah.
the thing. Like, I always feel like no one cares about hearing about how much weight I've lost, or like my progress, or I quit drinking alcohol. That's another thing.
Me too. How do you feel about that?
I feel great, man. It'll be 3 years in July.
Man, that's
and I
awesome.
feel great about it. Yeah, man. Like, so I have people who ask me about that too. Like, I've had a few people who've reached out to me and asked me how I quit drinking alcohol, and I actually helped someone go to rehab, and now they're clean on not drinking and not doing drugs and all that stuff, and that person just got married, and has a family and everything, and I'm happy for them, and I was happy that I'm happy that they reached out to me and I was able to help them.
Yeah.
But
you're such a baby face, Alan. The white meat baby face.
I try to be, man. I definitely I enjoy helping people out. I honestly do.
Same here.
And I'm glad that people feel comfortable to where they can reach out to me and I can help them out if I can. But yeah, I've had people who message me, man. I would put my picture on there with my weight loss, and because people, they would encourage me to do it because they're like, hey, your story will help people. I'm like, okay, so I would put it out there, and most of it would be positive. But then I had a few people who would message me privately and tell me that I made them feel insecure about themselves, or one person told me, they're like, oh, I'm getting sick of you posting your selfies of yourself and your weight loss and everything.
Really?
You bragging, you asshole. Oh yeah.
Oh my God. That person needs a hug.
Yeah, and it bothered me at first, man, but now I'm just kind of like, you know what? Like, people just like to hate people, and that's okay. I can't control what everyone else does. I can only control what I do. And my thought is I feel like my story has helped out enough people, and I know for a fact that I know that, I don't know, maybe it's more, but I know that I've helped at least 20 people lose weight. I do know that for a fact.
Well, you're helping some more people today, so I can tell you that.
I hope so, man. I honestly do. And when you reached out to me to do this, my first thought was I was like, why would he want to interview me?
Yeah, I know, right?
But at the same time, though, I thought about it, and I was just like, well, you know what? If I share my story, and if it just helps one person, then I felt like mission complete, man, honestly. And if it helps more than one person, if it helps 20 people or 30 or 40, then, that's a blessing. So
definitely. Now, I'm going to put it in the show notes, but tell people where to get you on Instagram, because that's where a lot of our people come from. There's a whole weight loss community over on Instagram, and I'm sure by the time this podcast is done, you're going to have a few new friends. So tell them where to find you on there.
Yeah, you can add me at Living Legend 2000 on Instagram.
There you go.
Yeah. So
get him on the Instagram.
I need to be a little more active on Instagram, but I think there's a couple of weight loss pictures I have on there, but I'll probably post some more. But yeah, definitely. Reach out, or if anyone has any questions about working out or nutrition or anything, definitely reach out. And I'm all, I'm willing to talk to anybody or help out any way I can. So,
well, if there's one thing I can say about Alan Martin, or as I lovingly refer to you, the Alan Martin, you are definitely one that people can confide in and talk to. I can tell them that after, let's see, this is going on 13 years of experience now.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I mean, me and you have definitely had some, some personal heart-to-heart talks over the years. So
yes, I want to go down that road too. Before I get you out of here, I want to go down this road, because there's people that, they'll listen to this and they'll be like, okay, well, this is a cool chat that these two had, but I don't think I know a lot of people that follow me on Instagram don't really know about our backstory. So this is the time now where we can clue them in. So in 2007, I started a radio program / podcast called The Shoot. It was a professional wrestling, and later we would go into some MMA talk as well. I did it solo for about, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. So for about 6 or 7 months, I was solo, and then I met a fellow that or knew at the time very well, Justin, and he got a hold of me. Yeah,
I still talk to Justin. I was in his wedding in 2017. Yeah, I was in his wedding in September 2017. I was in his wedding.
Very good. How's he doing these days?
He's doing good, man. He kind of just he's a homebody, man. He just goes to work and just stays at home, man. That's his thing. He likes, him and his wife they like being at the house, and they have get-togethers and stuff and go by and visit and stuff like that. But yeah, he's doing good though.
No, I'm glad to hear it. Please tell him I said hello.
Will do.
Yeah, I remember he got a hold of me somehow. I think he found the show by some means, and he approached me and said, "Hey, I have this YouTube show. It's called From All Angles. I do it with this other guy, Alan and Will." And I guess I don't know if he was necessarily looking to be a part of the show at the time, or if he was just looking to maybe collab, I'll shout you out if you shout me out. I don't know what it was, but we got in touch. But at that time, I had 2 co-hosts, and it wasn't really working out. It was kind of as they say in wrestling, creative differences. And so he kind of came in at the right time, because I was looking to shift gears. And so he and I ended up kind of forming a little partnership there. And that went for a couple of weeks, and then there was a week where I was gone, and he did the show with you and Will without me. And then I remember it was on Thanksgiving, of all times, you called me. Actually, it's the night before Thanksgiving. I don't know if you remember this. You called me and you said, "Hey, man, I'm here. I want to let you know that he is going to be leaving the show." I had not heard from him. At the time, I was very upset about it. Now I'm not. I'm very much over it. But just for the sake of context,
sure.
He for whatever reason, he was leaving the show. You called me. It was you. You called me and said, "I want to give you a heads up." You remember this phone call?
I do not. So yeah,
okay.
I'm curious to hear this. So I don't remember this. So.
Yeah, so it was the night before Thanksgiving, November of 2007, and you called me. You said, "Hey, man, what's up?" I said, "Well, Alan Martin, how you doing?" Because at this time, we talked a little bit. Obviously, we had each other's numbers. I want to say there was like one or two other shows where you had filled in for him, and it was starting to become kind of like a regular thing. And then it was the night before Thanksgiving. You called me and you said, "Yeah, he's out. He's leaving." You had told me something to the effect of, "I don't know if you're going to hear from him or not, but I wanted to let you know so you're not just kind of left hanging." And I think at that point I asked you, like, "Well, what about you? Like, what's your availability like? Do you think that you would want to step in and take that co-host spot?" And you were all about it, and we were off to the races at that point.
Yeah, man. It's funny that, whenever you reached out to me, so on my birthday, I invited, I had a dinner party, and and then we went to Dave and Buster's after the dinner party, and one of my buddies who went over to Dave and Buster's, and he found me from the All Angles show, and then he ran into me out at a rock concert of all places. He ran out to me at a concert, and he goes, "Hey, man," he was like, "I watch your show on YouTube every week," and I'm like, "No shit." And and then so we end up becoming friends, and I invited him out, and it's funny because his birthday is like 2 days before mine, which is kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
But I invited him for my birthday this year, and one of the girls asked him how he knew me, and he goes, "Oh, well," he's like, I used to listen to Alan on From All Angles on YouTube, and I used to listen to Alan on the Shoe," and then so I had a few people who were asking me, they're like, "Alan," they were like, "You did radio? We didn't know that." So
yeah,
so
3 years.
So I had a few people asking me about that, and that was. So yeah, that's why I thought it was funny when you reached out to me, because I was like, man, I was just we were just kind of talking about that on my birthday, so it's kind of funny.
It's crazy how life works out. And I remember at this time, like when we first started going, we really hadn't found our groove yet, but as we started to go into 2008, it really seemed like we were starting to kind of fire on all cylinders. And we really, I think, by late January, early February, I think we had a pretty damn good rhythm by that point.
Yeah, I think so. And I think whenever you have two people who they're not like 100% familiar with each other, it's going to take a little while to get that connection and get that gel, and I really feel like we kind of hit our stride at that point.
And I think it's probably fair to say that 2008, out of all the years we did, by far was the best year. It was our peak, I think. I think we really peaked in 2008.
Yeah, that's fair to say. Yeah, that's definitely fair to say.
I think one of the reasons, though, also something I don't think I've ever shared with you, but I was kind of dealing with a lot of shit in 2009. This was the year that I got separated, and I got together with my now wife. And creatively, I really felt like maybe I, in a sense, kind of peaked. And around this time, because it's funny. Years after the show ended, like in 2010, the first time that it ended, I want to say this is around like 2013, 2014, wrestling podcasts started to become more and more prevalent. Wrestlers started doing podcasts, and more people were figuring out how to do podcasts. But in 2008, 2009, there were still a decent amount of podcasts that were out there. And I was really feeling the pressure to compete with a lot of these podcasts. And I think, fair to say, 2009 was kind of when a lot of the gimmicks started coming out of the woodwork. Were you remember that? We were doing a lot of more gimmicky things in 2009.
Yeah, I remember kind of like the soundboard stuff and all of that. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and I remember getting messages about that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I never admitted it until I admitted it to myself years later that, around that time I was insecure. I was fearful that, we were going to lose listenership because, the thing about it is in 2008, we were so good that we didn't need to have guests all the time. Like we could just come on and talk about the news and give our opinions. And we had a decent enough fan base. The problem is that I think a lot of these shows around the time were getting nothing but guests, and that I was very jealous about that. And so I thought, let me go the other way with it because I had a hard time booking guests. I was like, well, let's start doing angles and shit. Like there was a lot of times where I was running angles that I wasn't even letting you in on. One of the ones I remember the best was when I had Nick Malone call and he like cussed me out because I fired him like 2 years before or something like that. And a lot of the times I wouldn't even tell you like I'm about to do some crazy shit because I wanted to see like what the real reaction was. And true to you, like a lot of times you just no-sold it because like you didn't know what the hell was going on. And I feel so bad for putting you through that stuff, but I was just in like a really bad state of mind in those years.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is, man. It's in the past. I do remember a lot of that time frame, and I remember people messaging me, and they're like, "Man, what is going on with the show? And why are y'all doing this and doing that?"
Right.
And I really didn't have a good answer for them, to be honest.
You had no idea what was going on, legitimately.
Yeah, I didn't have an answer for him, so I just, I just told him. I was like, "Well, I don't know. You have to, you'll have to talk to Gary about that and ask him." I guess maybe they didn't want to ask you, or I have no idea.
Yeah,
but,
and then we brought Diamond K into the fold because I don't know why. I was like, oh well, let's bring in a third, and we know in wrestling 3-man booths are no good. Not that I don't like Diamond K. I love Diamond K, but.
I love him, man. He actually he reached out to me, really awesome. But so in 2017 we had a hurricane here in Houston, and he reached out to me during the hurricane, man. I always remember that, and I really appreciated that because was yeah, I thought that was really nice of him, man. And because I was out working. That's the crazy part. Like, I mean, that's the thing about my job. My job, when there's a natural disaster, we work.
Yeah.
Like during this, a lot of people are, even right now during this virus that's going on. My job, we're fucking working. But a lot of schools and like NBA and all them, they're closing up shop. Not my job. We keep fucking working, and that's that's how it is, man. I mean, I work for a city, so it's fire, police, and water, and I'm in that water side, so we just we keep working, got to keep going. So.
Oh, definitely. Now, did I tell you that I ended up finally meeting him?
Oh, did you?
Yeah, this would have been 2000 and it was during the show. We did a viewing party. Yeah, we did a viewing party at a bar in Baltimore.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. You know what? I do remember that. Yeah, I remember y'all. That's right.
Yeah, and he showed up, and we hosted the party, and it was fun. I mean, he was definitely a good guy because I remember he would call into our show randomly, and just like he had like really fun takes, and I was just like, man, if we could somehow get this guy on the show, that would be great too, because I remember there was times where you couldn't do the show, and there was a lot of times where he couldn't do the show. We made a joke out of it, but there was definitely it was definitely I do think we had some good shows, the three of us.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I still joke around with him sometimes on social media. Like he'll put a post up or something, and I'll just randomly start like bullshitting about like Batista or something on his post. And he always, it's like that never gets old. I always pop him every time. He'll start laughing.
Oh man, I have that clip somewhere of him singing that, and I mean he owned it, man. He did it. I don't know where it is, but I have it somewhere, and I will absolutely unearth it one of these days.
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah. No, he usually reaches out. It seemed like he reaches out to me on my birthday every year, and yeah, he reached out to me during the hurricane, which is really nice, man. I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a good dude. I always have liked him. He was a good dude. I'm glad he seemed like he's doing well. He's always, he still has his own show and everything, so he seemed like he's doing good.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, he still has his own show. Yeah, he's always posting it on Instagram and stuff all the time. So yeah, I still try to keep up with him and see what he's up to and everything.
I'm gonna have to go through your followers and find him on the gram and say hello to him.
Yeah, you should absolutely do that. I'm sure he'd like to hear from you.
Definitely. But I think overall we had a good time, and it's just unfortunately that in February of 2010 that we closed up shop. I think obviously I knew my reasonings for wanting to end, but I think at the time you were also going through some stuff and you had figured out that it was kind of right for you to say goodbye as well.
Yeah, I think at the time I was dealing with, a terrible girlfriend at that time, and we're on good terms now.
Well, that's
just
good.
in case she listens to this.
Yeah.
But no, we're fine now. Like we're friends now. But she treated me like shit. I mean, I just that's all it is to it. And she knows that, and she owns it, and she's apologized. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I was in a bad relationship at that time, and I was also in the process of like trying to deal with like moving and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it was. I don't know. I guess it was kind of, in a way, like a blessing that it was. We kind of quit doing the show there for a while.
Oh, I will say I always appreciated that you stuck with me. And during the time that we were doing the show, did you ever have a favorite moment, like an interview or a favorite moment where we were talking that really sticks out? Like anything that you remember from those days where you're like, man, this was a really good segment or interview or whatever.
I really enjoyed, I can't remember what year it was, but, well, I'll say that I enjoyed the Nigel McGuinness interview. I thought that was cool to get him on.
You booked that.
Yeah, that was awesome. I enjoyed the Mean Gene Okerlund interview.
God rest his soul, man. That was fun.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, and the Genius. I know he came on. I think he came on a couple times, but yeah, he was cool too. DDP.
Oh yeah, that was fun. I met him finally.
Honestly, though, I think my favorite moment was. I think his name is. I guess his name is EC3 now, but that show that you did, I guess it was around the time he got fired from WWE, and he came on to your show, and I was just kind of like, I had just came back to just kind of do like a one shot basically.
Oh, you're talking about in 2013, the one show we did together.
Yes, that was probably my favorite show.
Yeah, that was a guy. It wasn't EC3.
Was that EC3 or who was it? I can't remember the guy.
It was a guy. His character name was Chad Baxter, which I don't think he ever made it on TV. But his real name was Derek Four. I actually was listening to that show today, in kind of preparation for talking to you tonight, and I actually reached out to him. He's on Instagram, and I found him and I said hello to him because he had put out a tweet saying that he had his contract. He was trying to sell his contract, his WWE contract. He was going to autograph it and send it to me. He actually tagged me in the tweet. I followed him out of the blue. I DM'd him out of the blue, and I said, I'm still waiting for this contract. Where is it?
That's awesome.
Yeah, because
that'd be funny if he sent it to you.
I know. I don't know if he even still has it, but that was a wild interview because that was coming at a time where he had gotten fired and he had went through all that stuff in developmental. And yeah, you had just came on for a one shot, and that was it. And we ended up doing 3 hours of radio that day. It was crazy.
Yeah, that was my favorite show.
Yeah, me too.
I really enjoyed it, man. It was just, it was fun. I feel like that was probably my favorite show. Was probably, and this might be my second favorite show that we're doing right now. And I feel like a lot of it is just because it's just, there's no script or anything. There's no notes.
Nope.
It's just I don't have any kind of notes or anything. I had no idea what you were gonna ask me. Like I was just and I told you, I told you yesterday. I was like, there's no net, so I'm ready to go. Whatever you want to ask or whatever you want to talk about, and I'm an open book, and so yeah. That's then. So yeah, this will probably be my favorite show, and that one that we did back to, that one was a good one. I really enjoyed it. Thought it was good.
That was a lot of fun. And I know that, yeah, we did like 3 hours that day. That was completely unplanned as well. Cause again, you were coming on, I think we were going to do the interview, but that came later. Cause that guy, like I had just booked that interview that weekend or that day or something. And your original thing was you were just going to come on to shoot the shit, and I think we're going to talk about a pay-per-view or something, and then boom, like we got this interview landed in our laps, and I was like, hey, you have a few more minutes? You want to hang out and talk about this? Yeah, sure. And then we ended up going another 90 minutes plus. So I was like, wow, that was pretty wild.
Oh, yeah, man. And that's the funny thing is that's kind of how I live my life every day, man.
Yeah.
And I think that was part of the reason why I enjoyed those shows, like we're doing right now, and that one, because there's not so much planning to it. It's just like, okay, like we're in this situation. Let's kick the mics on and let's just go. And it's, to me, that's fun for me. I think that's more authentic. It's fun whenever you don't have to like sit there and go off of notes or a script, which was okay.
It definitely got tiring after a while, though. I will say that, because you will remember that I did attempt to bring the show back for a second time in 2015, and we ended up going maybe a month or two at best. And I finally, it was in 2017 before I started this podcast, I recorded one more like 10-minute solo podcast for that show. And I said, this is it. It's dead and buried. I'm never bringing it back ever again. I'm never doing it. There's just something about that format that it wore me out. And no matter how much I had love for that brand, even though it was a highly damaged brand, which was all my fault, I'll take all the blame on that. I just, for the longest time, I didn't want to believe that it was really over, and it was truly over.
Wrestling Informant Radio.
Oh God, that too. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what, man? I wish I could find those episodes of, I probably have them on my old computer, but I actually enjoyed doing those review shows that me and Joe were doing. I actually enjoyed those. They weren't bad. Like, I mean, I think for me, they were time consuming because like we would have to watch those shows, and
right.
then I'd have to take notes on it. So that was time consuming, but it was fun. I had fun, like, cause we would sit there and drink beers while we would record the shows, and like, crack jokes and everything. And we, got some pretty decent feedback. Never really got anything negative back. Mostly, I think people were picking like, shitty shows for us to review, because it's a shitty show. They want to watch a crappy show.
Yeah.
But,
something.
It was fun, man.
Something funny about that, maybe you'll laugh at this, but it was weird to listen to you on a podcast with somebody else because it felt like an ex, like I was listening to my ex or something, talk to somebody else. It was weird. I mean, I would listen to the shows, but there was a part of me where it was a little bit hard at times because I'm like, God, this feels weird. He's on a show, he's talking wrestling, but it's with somebody else, and I liked it a lot better because it's somebody that was actually a friend of yours. You lived locally, you could meet up, you could be in the same room, so it sounded really good. Right. But it was just fucking weird for the longest time for me. I wasn't mad about it, but it was just like I was listening to it. It was weird. I don't know.
And that's fair. Yeah, and I you know what? Hey, I'm glad you're telling me that because I understand. Yeah, it is. I guess it's kind of like a breakup, like an ex almost, where it's like, man, he's went over here with this other guy, kind of left me behind type of thing. So I could see that. I understand. Well,
and to be fair, I mean, I'm sure maybe, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I'm sure maybe you might have had similar feelings when I brought the show back in 2013, possibly, and I had a co-host.
I remember you asking me that back in or I feel like you sent me a message or something,
right,
and asked me my thoughts on you bringing the show back, and it honestly didn't bother me. I didn't really have any, negative thoughts or mad or anything.
Right.
My whole thing was I was like, okay, well, that's cool, man. My whole thing was I was just kind of like, well, if you ever want me to come on and do a shot or whatever, cool, sounds good. And that was really my only thought. I never really had any, ill will or like, oh man, fuck those guys. Nothing like that.
Well, I think one of the things I thought was like, I never I probably in my mind I would have loved to have had you on more or even to do it just all over again at the time because I was like, that would have been really cool in a perfect world. But I've always talked about how much I typically tend to be an introvert and part of that is a lot of anxiety that comes with it. And so I feel like a lot of times I'm bothering people or whatever. And so I thought like, oh, I don't want to bother Alan and try to bother him with this show. Like I'm just going to bring the show back and do it. And then maybe if he truly wants to do it, maybe he'll hit me up and say, oh man, I'd love to hop on and do it again. So like my whole thing was like, oh God, I don't want to burden him with this show again. I'm just going to bring it back and do it.
Here's my thing. And I tell, I tell people this. Actually, I told one of my really close friends. I have a friend that I went to high school with, and I always say like, hey, like, you ever need anything, reach out, let me know, and I'll be there for you. You got to let me know because I can't read your mind. I don't know what's going on in your life. Just let me know. And finally, that person did that not that long ago, reached out, and I went there. I had no questions asked. I went. And that's my mentality, man. It's like, hey, if there's something on your mind, like, I don't know what's on people's mind. Like, I don't like one thing about me is like, I'm not really good at like, a lot of people are kind of like, a lot of people sometimes they'll express themselves differently. Like maybe they'll get on social media and they'll post something or whatever, or they'll send a text or whatever. To me, like, you got to be upfront with me and blunt. Just be like, hey, this is what's on my mind. Like, just let me know. Like, just, call me up, send me a message, whatever you got to do, let me know. And, to me, like, if you let me know, we'll talk about it and we'll get it done. That's kind of my thought on it. So,
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
but
it was definitely on my mind. I definitely I don't want you to ever think that it was not under consideration. I thought about coming to you and saying, I'm going to bring the show back. Like that was always the plan. I wanted to bring it back at some point, but it was just like, I just felt like, and this is the thing. And what you're saying is probably what a lot of people like in my life are thinking, because I've dealt with a lot of problems where I kind of distance myself from people. I don't talk to people because I constantly feel like I'm burdening them or bothering them. And I think what you said is probably what a lot of these other people are thinking, like, I can't read this guy's mind. You know, I'm here for the guy. All he's got to do is just tell me. But like, I don't know, because I'm like, in my mind, I'm just like, oh fuck. Like, man, I'm going to text him and he's like, oh God, this fucking guy, you know, and like, you know, that, these
I don't
are things,
really,
you know,
I don't really think like that, man. Like,
Yeah.
my thing is, it's like, if I feel like if I ever needed somebody, or if I was in a bind, like, I feel like I would hope that I could call, whoever I decided to call or whatever. Like, if I called my buddy, if I called Joe, you remember Joe. If I call Joe,
Yeah.
if I call my boy James up, or if I call my friend Christian, or whoever the case, Justin or whoever. Like, if I feel like if I called one of them up and be like, hey man, something happened, I need you to come over, help me out. I feel, and I do feel like they would come and help me out, and I know they would come help me out, because they have, they've helped me out over the years. So,
Yeah.
if I need like advice or whatever the case may be, and or if I needed them to come help me lift some shit or whatever, I've had some stuff at my house break or whatever, and I had my buddy James come over and he helped me fix it, stuff like that, and yeah, but sometimes you just gotta reach out there and just see what happens, man. But
well, that's
no,
one of the reasons I brought you back, in 2015, because I was like, well, you know what? He seems like he wants to be on. So I remember asking you, I'm like, hey, let's do something again.
Yeah. I was happy to do it, man. It was fun. And to this day, I still have people who ask me now. I had a guy who asked me about doing radio just a year ago, who asked me if I wanted to do radio. And I told him that that would be fine. But my whole thing is I just, I don't want to do any, like, I drive. So when I'm not at work, I mean, I do a little bit of driving, I like to adventure out a little bit. And
Yep.
I don't want to have to, like, make drive. So Justin brought back From All Angles. I mean,
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard about that.
We're so, this, for the people who are listening to this is going to go long, but, bear with us. Just listen to the whole thing. It's fine. But yeah, let's talk about it. Fuck it. So he brought back From All Angles, and I did a couple of shows with them, and it wasn't with Will, because, we don't talk to Will anymore, but, there's another guy named Doug that he brought in that, we're buddies with and stuff. And
Doug was a big YouTuber for many years.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. He's a huge TNA guy. I guess Impact now. And, he's like, huge AEW, huge, Elite fan and stuff.
Yep.
Nice guy. And yeah, so we did From All Angles. We did a couple episodes with him, and basically, to be honest with you, it just got to the point to where I couldn't commit to making that drive out to Justin's house to record it every week. I just couldn't do it anymore. And and even if we did Skype, which would have been okay, doing Skype, like, I just on the Saturdays where he wanted to record it, like, I was at a ball game, or I was, out and about doing whatever, and I was just busy, man, like, just living life. And so I don't know. He just kind of quit doing the show there after a while. But yeah, he kind of came, From All Angles came back for a little while.
Yeah, doing those shows can be a big commitment. I'll tell you what I struggle with right now, and excuse me. what I struggle with right now is when Wrestling Informant ended, when the shoot ended in 2015, in 2018, I was kind of very reflective of those times, and I decided that I was going to start yet another wrestling podcast that subsequently went about 15 or 16 episodes, and it was titled very simply Gary Watches Wrestling, because I was like, you know what, I'm going to put my name in it. It's going to be very authentic. And it was also very short. I was doing like 15 minutes or less, like just the bullet points. And I still have commitment issues, because like right now, like 2 years ago, wrestling was hot and fun, but I would argue like right now it's really at a really fun period. There's a lot going on, a lot to talk about, and I would love to do like, you know, I would love to pick back up the Gary Watches Wrestling. Now this podcast is out in May. Maybe I will have done a wrestling podcast or two. I don't know. But, you know, these kind of shows come with a big commitment. I mean, this show right here comes with a big commitment, but I still do it. With the wrestling, though, my fandom kind of goes in and out. And, I mean, when AEW came, I was very much more engaged with wrestling in general, more than I had been in many years. But there's still,
absolutely.
There's still commitment issues. So I can understand exactly what you're saying when you're like, oh, you know, making that drive or doing it on Skype, but I want to go to the ball game. Like, there's a lot of commitment issues that go into committing to a program like that on a weekly basis.
It is, man. It's amazing that me and Joe were able to. I can't believe it. I went back and looked. We recorded 17 shows on Wrestling Informant.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable.
That is.
And I thought about that, and I'm like, man, we did that every single for that long, and I was like, wow, and didn't miss a week, and that's unbelievable. But it's good though, and I didn't. And even whenever we were doing our show. Yeah, I didn't miss. I mean, I missed 3 or 4 shows, maybe, but I mean, I feel like that's pretty damn good for over 3 years.
Yeah, we did over 130, 140 episodes together, so that's a lot. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a bunch.
And even the 17 with Joe. I mean, most podcasters when they're getting started, like they don't make it past episode 5, so. Going 17 episodes is nothing to scoff at. That's a good number.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It was, and I had fun doing those. I honestly did. You know, and sometimes I miss doing that. Sometimes I do miss doing those, but at the same time, you know, you get back to, okay, you know, do you want to put that time in to sit down and watch those shows, because I find it's already hard enough to, like, you know, live your regular schedule as it is. And you know, if you want to come home and if you want to watch whatever, you know, if you want to watch The Ultimate Fighter, or, you know, UFC, or if you want to watch that Fight Night, or if you want to watch WWE or AEW, or if you want to watch baseball, football, what have you, whatever the case may be. Yeah. You want to do that, but then, you know, you in the back of your head, you're like, well, shit, I got to record this damn show coming up. Yes. So, and you know, not saying it like that, but you know what I mean. But yeah. So I do. Yeah, I struggled with that too, man. And I've had people reach out to me and ask me about doing shows or doing a podcast, and I've had a couple people ask me to come on and just do like one shots, and I'm like, oh yeah, no problem, and I'll go on and I'll do the one shot and I'm out of there, and that's fine to do the one shot.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to just pop on once and do a show, and there's no commitment. You don't have to worry about taking notes for the next 6 days until you have to get back on the radio and do it again, or to get on a podcast and do it all over again.
That's right. And even, you know, I mean, to me, even a show like this, even like, you know, if I popped on, I don't know, if I popped on every couple months or once a month or whatever, to me, that's not bad. But if you're like, bi-weekly, it's like, oh man, like, then you feel like you have to have new material.
Yeah, well, the thing I like about this podcast is like it's a different person every week, and it's kind of like having a co-host, but it's kind of not, because it's like I talk to somebody new every single week, and there's people that come back on. The other thing about it too is that I'm talking to people that I've never talked to before, so that makes it really interesting because you have like an hour to figure each other out. And
yeah,
I like it because I feel like it's something different every single week. Whereas like with the wrestling stuff, it's like, okay, well, we're going to bitch about the creative and bitch about Vince and all this stuff every single week. And it's like, oh my God, like how many more weeks can we just bitch and complain about this show or say like, oh, this show is great. Like how many times can you do that? And so I have thought about, doing the wrestling stuff again. It's something that pops in my mind every couple of months, and then I kind of like, yeah, okay, I'm not gonna do that, and then a couple of months later, well, maybe, but I never can get a concrete answer with myself on doing that. So
I completely understand where you're coming from. I get it, definitely. Yeah, I've had my friend Jason ask me. He's been asking me about it for at least 3 years now. About, hey man, you want to do a show? You want to do a show? And
yeah,
and I'd love to do a show with him because he's very knowledgeable about the business. He's a real smart guy, good talker. But again, I'm just like, man, I don't. It's just about that. It's just about the time, man.
Oh my God, yeah. And you're the kind of guy where you talk about living life, going to the ball games, and I would always see you going to parties and all kinds of stuff. So I mean, you have a very active social life. So I don't know where that fits in for you.
Yeah, I'm very social. I like to. And getting back to kind of tying in the whole thing with being happy with my weight loss and everything. It's like I have definitely lived this 36 years. Like I can't sit here and say it's been terrible because even during the my down times at work, like when outside of work, it would be great, man. Like I would definitely have fun, and I still do. I still have fun now, even without drinking. Like I still have a blast. So I can't sit here and say that I haven't lived, because I have, and it's been fun, man.
Yeah,
I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot along the way, and I feel like doing the radio helped me learn too, because I feel like it really helped me deal with criticism.
Yes,
because I used to have, maybe I feel like, maybe like in the mid 2000s and stuff like that, I've just had a hard time taking criticism, whenever someone would like criticize, whatever, if someone criticized my weight, or someone criticized the way I talk, or someone talking shit about me for being black, or whatever, or criticize me because I walk funny, or whatever the case may be. I used to have a hard time with that, but I think over the years of like doing radio and me evolving as a person, and I just my confidence has just grown now to where I don't let that stuff bother me anymore, man. I'm just like, you know what? If someone says something bad about me, it is what it is. I can't change it. So just let them think that. If that's, I don't feel like I'm 36 now. Like if someone has this conceived like thought about me, I can't change it. I can't be like, oh man, don't think negative of me because I'm a good person. Like if they don't want to take the time to get to know me and meet me and realize like how big my heart is, then my thought is it's not worth my time.
I couldn't agree anymore. I mean, how do you turn heel on Alan Martin? I mean, my God, you're just a good dude through and through. I mean, the two of us have known each other for almost 13 years. We kind of come and go at times, but at the end of all this, it's like, man, you know, we still can come together, have a 2-hour freaking conversation, which is amazing. So I don't know how anybody could turn heel on, there's the wrestling phrase. I don't know anybody could turn heel on Alan Martin. I mean, you're just a good dude. Like, consistently from the time I met you to the time now, you're the same fucking guy. Like, you have not changed. I mean, obviously your appearance has changed because you put in a lot of hard work and you've lived your life and a lot of things have changed. But at the end of the day, at the core, you're still the same fucking guy. And I love that.
Man, I appreciate that, man. Like, I pride myself on that. Like, because I hear so many stories about people losing weight and then they start acting like assholes, or like guys will like cheat on their wives, or women will lose weight and they'll go off the deep end with a dude, leave their husband, stuff like that. Like, that's the thing about me. Like, even though I have lost the weight, like, I'm still opinionated, obviously, as you can tell from listening to this show for the last 2 hours.
Yes.
I'm definitely opinionated, but I feel like I'm fair too with my opinions. Like, I'm not being an asshole or being a dick or anything. Like, I feel like I'm being fair, but at the same time, though, I'm still respectful of people. I try to give back to people. I like to help people. So, I feel like some of my opinions even themselves out. So
definitely. And well, I say this every time that we do one of these podcasts, like first time in X amount of years, I always say we have to meet up at some point, and I'm convinced more than ever that at some point,
do, man.
We just need to get over this and figure this out at some point.
We do, man. We definitely do, especially with all the vacation time I have and everything. I need to get out that way. I actually have some family out that way, so I feel like I should get over there, see them, and then just meet up with you and just kind of try to get Diamond K to come meet up too.
Didn't you say we don't have to get super specific, but your family is somewhere in Maryland, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
great.
Yes.
Yeah. So Maryland, that's anywhere in Maryland is about an hour or less. So that's absolutely no problem. But, I definitely thought about it when I was like, oh man, well, WrestleMania, they came to Dallas. It wasn't Houston. And I'm sure at some point you guys will have another WrestleMania too. Like
it's funny.
Yeah.
So when you mentioned that you went to the WrestleMania Dallas, I actually had tickets for it, and I sold the tickets the weekend before.
No shit. Why did you give it up? Why didn't you want to go?
I wasn't really feeling the card, man.
Yeah, you didn't want to see Roman Reigns win the belt at midnight that night?
It was, I don't know. I just thought I thought the card was really weak, so I ended up selling the tickets. I just wasn't feeling it.
Damn, that is crazy to think. But you know what? I do go to a lot of these WrestleManias. I know that by the time this show obviously comes out, we will know what happened to this year's WrestleMania. But I do have tickets. I have a rental car. I have a hotel. They're all refundable, thank goodness. But
oh yeah, thank God.
Yeah. So I don't know what the status is, but. You know what? Maybe one of these years, we'll have to go to a WrestleMania together. I'm thinking.
Man, that would be awesome, man. Because I haven't been to WrestleMania since 25. So
and we'll do a podcast afterwards. Maybe the next morning, maybe not the same night because WWE will keep us up all night. But maybe the next morning we'll do a one-off podcast recapping said WrestleMania.
Yeah, man, that could be fun, man. Especially like a tired, drowsy post show.
Oh my God, yeah. But I will say this: we have to. I'm committed we will figure it out. We will get together. We will shake you. Obviously we both don't drink alcohol anymore. I would have said we'll have a beer, but times have changed. We'll take a swig of water for the working man, as Stone Cold would say.
Yeah, man, we can have or we can do what I was doing on my last cruise, and having a virgin daiquiri.
A virgin daiquiri.
Yes, sir.
I'm game.
Yes, sir.
If there's no alcohol in it, I'm game. Believe me.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Virgin pina colada. Pina colada. Just hold the alcohol.
There you go, man. I love it. Well, we're gonna make it happen.
Sugary, but yeah, man, we should, for real. Seriously, in all seriousness, we definitely should. After all these years. 13
freaking years. I think we can realize that neither one of us is a serial killer that's going to kill the other one. I think we've established that by now. I think it's safe to figure out a meeting. So whether you come here or I come there, or goddamn, if we just make it maybe we'll make it like a yearly, maybe we can make it like a yearly meeting of some sort. We're going to figure this thing out, but by the end of, I don't know how 2020 is looking, especially with this virus, and I've got to get out to, I got to try to get out to Vegas to see my old man. There's a couple of trips I already have planned. So I'll say this, we should, by the end of 2021, that should be the goal, that some point between now and the end of 2021, we will have had to have met by then. That's what I'm going to say.
That's fair. That's definitely fair.
I'm going to put the gauntlet down.
Well, we are going to work on trying to make it happen, man. Maybe we can go sit down and eat a buffet or something. Maybe.
Maybe a CC's buffet. Maybe.
Oh man, I haven't ate there in a while. So yeah.
Same here. I went a whole year without pizza last year. I went an entire year no pizza.
Yeah, I can't do that.
That's what everybody tells me. Even my healthy friends. It was a crazy challenge. I gave up alcohol, pizza, and chocolate. I left the alcohol behind, but I took my pizza and my chocolate back. There's just no way that I was giving those up forever.
Yeah, nah, I love pizza too much to give it up. I just can't do it, man. I mean, I've gone long periods of time without it, but oh my God, I don't know if I could go a whole year. Oh man,
that's a hell of a challenge. Be hard. Could you do a month without pizza?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I do that easily. Yeah, I can. I can go 2-3 months without it, but
yeah, not a year though.
No, not a year. No, that's too long, man. That's too long. I usually try to jump into try to get by CC's at least once a year. Usually, I try to.
Yeah. Well, we might be onto something there with the CC's meeting and just a meetup in general. And we could even do a podcast like this where we'll just talk about whatever. No format. I mean, my God, we did 2 hours tonight. This is crazy.
Yeah. I kind of figured we were going to go a little long. I mean, we haven't spoken in like 5 years, so I figured it would go a little long, which is okay because, I had tonight blocked out. So
definitely. I'll ask you this before we wrap it up. Who do you think is going to be the most excited to hear this show?
Oh man.
We have so many different people that we've known over the years, so I'm curious, who do you think?
That's true, man. Gosh, man, like I wonder like if someone like I remember well, I mean, I'm sure Diamond K will enjoy listening to it. Probably remember that girl Chelsea? Wonder
yes.
If yeah.
You still talk to her?
I haven't talked to her in a long time. I mean, she's still like on my social media and stuff, but I mean, we don't, But I could see someone like her like checking it out because I mean, she was a huge fan of our show back in the day. So,
what about the Matador? You still talk to that guy?
Oh gosh, man, I miss Matt, man. I talked to him Christmas Day, which is his birthday.
Right.
That guy is just so, I guess in a way, maybe like you kind of, where he just kind of off to himself, man. Like he doesn't really come out really or hang out. He works and then he does, he was doing school. He decided to go back to school and get his master's degree, and he did that, and he's just working at the airport still, man. He's been at the airport almost as long as I've been at my job. So,
wow.
Yeah, he's been at the airport for a long time, and then he still takes trips. I think he still goes to, like, Vegas and goes and gambles and stuff like that. He's kind of a loner, man, like kind of like a lone wolf.
Yeah, but it happens to some of us. That's just what happens.
Yeah, and I understand. I mean, sometimes people are ugly and negative and stuff, and you just decide just to, stay to yourself. And I understand people, why people do it. I get it.
Definitely. Well, look, man, it's been 5 years. We will not wait another 5 to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But also we now have a new goal. By the end of 2021, we will have met at least once.
That sounds good, man. I feel like that's something that's definitely doable.
Definitely. Well, again, before we go, tell the people where they can find you on Instagram and things like that, where they should go to get a hold of you.
Yes, I am Living Legends 2000 on Instagram, and my name's Alan Martin, of course. And
your name is the Alan Martin.
That's right.
And Nick Hogan still sucks. Did I miss any of the other catchphrases?
Oh gosh, there was so many back in the day.
Well, you ate before you came on, so we already nixed that one in the bud. So
I did. Yeah, I made sure. Yeah, I actually thought about that. I was like, oh, I need to eat before I go on.
I know that you told me years ago, and I'm not going to fight you on it, but I know years ago you had lost a bet, and you were going to sing a Shelton Benjamin song or something. We never got that, but it's okay. I'll let you slide on that. But I wanted to make sure we got all the catchphrases before we wrapped up the podcast.
That's funny. Yeah. Just for all the listeners out there, just you can message me anytime if you want to talk about anything, really. If you want to talk about, if you're having problems with drinking or something and you just need some advice, or if you want to talk about weight loss, obviously I can talk to you about that, or talk to you about how you're eating, or if you want to talk about lifting weights, or if you want to bullshit about MMA or wrestling, even if you want to do that, I can do that too. So, or if you want to talk about sports, I mean, I follow all sports, so I can bullshit about that too. So,
Alan Martin is a one-stop shop, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right, man. Yeah, I'm here for all your needs.
Well, you're also here for what I believe now is the longest Gary Cantrell podcast yet. I think the previous record was 1 hour and 52 minutes. We have easily blown past that. And Alan, I want to thank you again for popping on the show. Any final words before we end the podcast?
I just want to thank you, man, for reaching out. Honestly, whenever you reached out, I didn't think I would ever hear from you again, to be honest. So
I tend to disappear. I'm sorry.
So I really appreciate you reaching out and asking me to come on. This is it's been cool, man. Like I've had that kind of like that itch to want to, just kind of get on and talk, and you gave me this platform to do it on and to share my message. Like I have a lot of people who've asked me to write a book or share my message, and so this is really the first time that I've actually had an opportunity to really just spill out what's, on my brain and, my reasoning and everything. So.
Well, you should still consider the book, by the way.
Yeah, that's, yeah, you're right, man. I should. Like, one of my friends was talking to me about it. So, yeah, I think it's something that maybe I should really actually consider. I just, again, it just gets back to me where I'm just like, okay, would anyone read it? Would anyone care? And, it kind of gets back to that part with me. But, yeah, I just, I hope the main thing that comes out of this, I really hope, is I hope people, enjoy it, and I hope they get a little bit out of it, and hopefully it helps somebody out there, who's struggling. Rather, if you're struggling, or even if you're not struggling, even maybe if you just, maybe if you want to start like lifting weights, or or whatever the case may be, maybe you have alcohol problem, doesn't matter, whatever it is, I just hope you can take something out of this and it helps you. And if you want to reach out to me or Gary and you want to talk, then that's awesome. I'd really enjoy the conversation.
Definitely. And Instagram's got group DMs, so you could add both of us and start chatting away if you like.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. My phone's always on. So, anyone can feel free to write me anytime, and I'm usually pretty timely about replying to messages. So,
yeah. Well, very good. Well, Alan, yeah, man, thank you so much, brother.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, and we will talk very soon.
Sounds good, my friend. Like, I really appreciate you having me.